Okay, so what I do is I use the Gundam Markers. I do have a Tamiya like a panel lining liquid. It's nice for super small parts, but generally speaking, I haven't been using it a lot because it's really messy and it's kind of hard to clean up, and it only works some of the time, it seems like. But I use just black and gray. People will use brown and stuff for like if they're doing scenery and stuff, so that they like mud on the feet or whatever. Typically, I just use black for darker colors. Other black, because it does show up on black. Blacks, blues, reds, that type of stuff. So like this blue right here would be great for black. And then I use gray for the lighter colors, which typically I just use it for white. I'll use black on yellow just because I like the thickness of it that it comes through, but black looks too dark on white, so I use gray. But yellow is a bright enough color that if you wanted to use gray, it would work just fine. So the reason I do it that way is because I'm not going for a super dynamic look. I'm just going for like a shading look. So typically what I would do is just do the lines, and then certain parts, like on my HGs, I do like parts where panels will meet. So like if there's like a bump piece that looks like a panel, I'll go around that as long as there's like a line to follow. On my MGs, I haven't been doing that, but I do think I'm going to do that because it brings a more of a like intense shading look to it. But I'll just go through and show you pretty much the way I do it. Like I said, I almost primarily just use these two. I very rarely use the gray, realistically. I use the black for everything. If you want a really dynamic shading technique, black looks great on everything. So the best way to do it, because these are paint markers. They don't look like it because they're so small, but they are paint markers. So the best way to do it is to just follow your lines. You can push down a little bit. I tend to, just to make sure that the paint gets in the line, because sometimes it'll like stick up, and then it looks kind of thick and bulky or whatever. You can literally just take your finger or thumb or whatever and just rub across it, and it'll get rid of every single piece of paint, every single part of it that's outside of this line. So now it looks, if it'll focus at all, come on now. Well, down here you can see it. It looks super nice and clean. So I'll do it on this line right here so you can see it better. You can't see the line very well because of the lighting and stuff, and that's just because it's a flat white on white inlay. So let's see, we'll take this and do it like that. I don't know if you can really see it very well on the camera, but it does kind of build up. It's like a liquid build up a little bit. So that line looks much fatter than this line here. But same thing. You can just rub it off. Do a couple of good go-overs just to make sure that you don't get any gray smears along your pieces or whatever. Bam, nice thin, beautiful line, because it'll just sit in the inlay. I'll do it the same for these. These are like you can't see them very well now. There's 7 like inlaid parts here. They're kind of like pits. I'll just take it and just kind of color it in. I do this for a lot of waist pieces and stuff that have these parts. It'll look kind of faded a little bit in some places because the lining isn't consistent, and that's just because of the marker. It's a paint marker. But when it's done, it'll have like a shading dynamic to it, to where it'll look like, because it's inconsistent, it'll look like shadows as opposed to actually like, the colors, the piece is just gray. So color these ones in too. I won't do this whole piece for you guys just because take me a minute. It won't take super long because it's a small piece, but ta-da. And that's how it'll start coming out. In case you're wondering, this is a leftover piece from the Shining Break HG. I can show you the fully completed shield. It has red wings and everything if you guys want to know what it'll look like when it's done. And then I'll show you for the blue too. You might not be able to see it so well because of the camera, but same thing. It's got all these sweet little, you can sort of see it in the glare there, these sweet little pieces here. Because it's dark, you won't be able to see it super well, but you will be able to see it for sure in the light. So I always color these, even black. I'll do black with a black marker because when you can see it, you notice a difference for sure. See, you might not even really be able to tell. Oh, I can tell. This is a little darker. But yeah, you can go over the whole thing like that to demonstrate to you that the reason I think these markers are so good is this. So here's no lines. Oh, just drew on it, whatever, you know. Oh, comes right off. Now the thing is, when it dries, it doesn't come off so easy, which is what's super great about it, because then when you finally sit down and when you sit down and you fully do a kit for however long and it comes out super great or whatever, if you leave all these dirty marks or whatever, you leave it full looking and it looks like poop and you look like this, you know, that'll stay like that. If you rub it with your fingers after you've let it dry for a day or whatever, it'll stay looking like that. But if you do it like this and you clean it off immediately, I typically do section by section, you know, like, so I'll do, when I do an arm, or I guess a leg is a better example because legs typically have more panel lining. I'll do it side by side. So I'll do the side, go all the way down the whole thing, clean it up as I'm going, and then rotate it and do it again. That way I don't miss anything, I don't get confused with anything. But yeah, this is probably the simplest and most effective and fast way that I found to panel line. I can show you the liquid stuff if you really want to see it, but it's, I don't know, I feel like I wasted $7 on it just because it's a giant mess and it doesn't clean up easy. You can kind of do the rubbing technique, but you got to have like a paper towel and stuff because it'll smear on everything, it'll stain your fingers. This stuff washes off super easy. And the other thing is that if once this dries, if you get water on this or whatever, these lines don't come out. If you want to for sure settle it in, you could spray it with like a clear top coat or something to really seal the lines. And, you know, especially if you're going to be painting your other models, or like fully painting it, like, oh, this white's not good enough, I want like a better white, you know, it'll seal it in even better so that it sticks to the paint and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much the panel lining process. I can typically do a big HG kit in, I don't know, 2 hours probably if I'm really taking my time. But the MGs definitely take much longer because they have way more detail. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Super simple, super straightforward. These are like, I want to say they're like $3. You can buy them from USA Gundam Store. I'm pretty sure they sell them on Amazon. A lot of places sell them in deals because, you know, $3 for a thing, 2 for $5 or whatever, you know. So get as many of them as you want. I have like 6 backup pairs. I've got a kit over here that has 2 or 3 more grays and 2 or 3 more blacks in them. They do last a long time. You can build tons of models with these, like these 2 things. These are probably the second markers I've had. I've painted my whole collection with these ones. So that's it. If you have any other questions, I mean, let me know.